Hey guys, this is Jay Calder with JAYONBOXING, here giving you a personal prediction for Jermall Charlo versus Jose Benavidez. And as always, this is just my take, of course. Your predictions can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. And a little bit of fight info here. We have Charlo taking on Benavidez, as mentioned. This will be taking place at the MICHELOB Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, airing on the David Benavidez versus DEMETRIUS ANDRADE undercard in the co-featured bout in the middleweight division. However, it's only for 10 rounds, so Charlo's version of the title at 160 pounds will not be on the line for God knows what reason. Makes no sense at all, but nonetheless, here we are. So, as someone predicting fights, this is exactly the sort of matchup that can make you look stupid for a number of different reasons. On paper, Benavidez has a bum leg, is the smaller man, and really has kind of fallen short in all of his major contests. And Charlo is bigger, seemingly better, and should be a clear favorite and winner. That said, Charlo also has had issues. He's been super inactive. He balloons up in weight, or at least has recently, and he also got the fire slapped out of him by Caleb Plant not too long ago for whatever the reason was in that case. You would assume that he might be ripe for the picking. That said, all of what I said might be true, and he still might win. That's just how unpredictable this fight is, how many variables you have going into this contest. So, what gives? Who's going to take this one? Who's going to take advantage of the potential possibility their opponent is putting forth based upon some of those drawbacks? Let's break this one down and find out. Starting with Charlo. For Charlo to win, the right hand has to be key. You have a solid right hand, and you can set it up well at times. You're going to need to do so in this contest to be effective. Use the jab, use the feint, even a double jab at times, and then be able to counter with it at times. You just need to get it going, and the sooner the better. Benavidez can get caught with that shot, especially when he's kind of standing more upright and squared up. That's what you're going to look for and try and target the most, because that will have its best impact for you. And of course, the busier you are with it and the more you throw it, the more you have a chance of catching him with that kind of shot. It might be your best power shot, so it's certainly something you're going to want to try and get implemented in this fight, especially to try to make him feel the size and power disadvantage that he might be at. Have to make those shots count to make the biggest difference in this contest. And as I sort of alluded to there, keep your hands busy. You've had a long layoff. That means you might have some rust. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just pick 1 and 2 shots here and there and then try and coast the rest of the round. You don't want to give him that kind of invitation to be busy with you. What it means is that you need to preserve your energy. Throw shots that have a little bit less spite in them sometimes. Switch up the speed and the power on them so that this way you're preserving energy, still have some in the tank, but can at least keep him at bay, score some shots, and then kind of work your way through the gears. Once you've set your own pace and have your own tempo that you're comfortable with, then you can start adding some more of that power into it when you've created some of the openings that you can now exploit. You just don't want to give Benavidez confidence or a reason to believe that he has a chance to get inside and take the fight over. It's a bad look. Whether he wins the round or not, due to him being such a big underdog in this contest, you just don't want to leave that impression with the judges. Stay busy, find the shots as the fight progresses, then you can hurt him with it, but you don't need to be loading up from the very beginning. And finally, make Benavidez move. You want him to move for a number of reasons, in my personal opinion. You want him moving back so that you can step in. Easier on you, not having to use those kind of reverse muscles, which take a bit more out of you. And then harder on him, especially with some of the leg issues that he's had in the past. As unfortunate as that might be, that is simply the situation here. Also, you want to turn him at times. Try to make him move on those kind of pivots and off angles that he might have a hard time keeping up with because he is so flat-footed at times. Again, pivoting for him can be tricky, and that can be a time when you can catch him with those shots in between that he just doesn't have enough time to prepare for. He can be a bit cumbersome at times in the ring. Get him moving back, turning, and then try and capitalize in those particular moments. Make him uncomfortable with your movement so that you have the best chance of putting a hurt on him in those moments of the contest. Now, switching over to Benavidez. For Benavidez to win, you want to lead with the left. Benavidez has a solid left hand as a jab, and that can work here too. Of course, you want a jab. It's going to set up a lot of things. For all the typical reasons, you're going to want to use a jab. But I also mean as more of a power shot, more thrown with some force, maybe a power jab with even more spite at times, really as a scoring blow, a power blow at times. Charlo's defensive hand can drop when he throws his own jab, meaning he's going to be open for that left, and that's when you're going to want to throw it to try and just get something going, maybe press him back, and then get some of your scoring in this fight going as well. Also, Charlo doesn't move his head off the line too often and might be a bit rusty and be caught in those kind of moments even more than usual. Use that to your advantage. Time what he's trying to do, look to try and counter over the top with a solid, stiff left hand, whether in a jab form or some kind of hybrid. But just get the scoring going, try to get some of that force into your shots, back him up a bit more, and then you can start to build momentum into this contest. I would also say don't look for single shots. You can't just hope to land the big one. You're moving up, you aren't a huge puncher to begin with, and Charlo has a decent enough chin. So you're not going to knock him out with one blow unless it's the perfect punch, and you can't bank on the perfect punch landing. So you have to set it up and go with some volume as well. What's more, you have a bad habit of shelling up and waiting your turn, as I call it, where you're just kind of hoping he throws, tires, or stops, and then you go. Ditch that. Against the best, you have to throw and be willing to trade at times and take chances. That attitude has not done you well in bigger fights anyway, so it's certainly something you need to be looking to switch up. Give yourself a chance to land a fight-changing punch. You want to lead with that left, switch it up at times as I mentioned, and once you get inside, then you can get to work with more of the busier work that will allow for you to have a better chance of landing something meaningful, hurtful, and at the very least scoring with those shots. And finally, take him to deep waters. Charlo has been out for a long time. You need to expose that rust and that potential conditioning issue that might be there. However, it can't just be enough to make it to the late rounds and then press the action in the final two and say that you did a good enough job. You have to be working, and more importantly, making Charlo work so he feels the fight late in the contest. Attack the body, press inside, make him feel the fight is going, make it feel as though it's slipping away from him. Press the action, again, not single shots. Throw more than he wants to throw. That's what you're looking to make him do. Then in those later frames, when he might not have as much in the gas tank, you can exploit it by trying to come on a little bit stronger, maybe with some quicker shots coming up in weight. You might have some at least comparable speed to be able to capitalize in those moments when he might be tired. Now, in terms of my pick here, while tempted with the Benavidez logic that I mentioned earlier, if it is logic at all, I'm still rolling with the heavy favorite in Charlo. It might be tougher in spots than expected, but I think the size and power differential will ultimately show up in the contest. Due to rust, Charlo might have his timing and movement off just a bit, especially early on. Might even get caught more than normal at first. However, I think Charlo settles in and starts landing more hurtful shots. Jermall will land the right hand, press the smaller man back, and have enough damage caused to keep Benavidez at bay, tame him in those early and middle frames. By the second half of the fight, Charlo is just getting too much going, landing the bigger blows, and ultimately stops Benavidez. Winner, Jermall Charlo via late fight stoppage. Now, in terms of the betting odds here, as mentioned, Charlo is a sizable favorite, coming in at a minus 850, with Benavidez coming in at a plus 510. Again, if this was 2 years ago and Charlo was a lot more active, I could really justify these odds and have nothing to touch in this particular case. However, it's not a few years ago. So if you wanted to look at a Benavidez line just for the fun of it, because you never know, you could convince me to do something with a small number there. Otherwise, I don't really see much in terms of the money line. In terms of the over-under, that's where you might have a bit more action. It's set at 8.5, which basically means a decision, because again, this is a 10-round fight. The over set at a minus 240, with the under coming in at a plus 180. Truthfully, in terms of just the decision, you can pretty much justify either pick here. In terms of the odds, obviously, the under is giving you a little bit better, but ultimately that just is determined by what you think really happened in this fight. Obviously, with all bets, but I mean, it really is that kind of borderline pick where both seem to make sense, at least on paper. But in any event, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 36-12 with 23 exact. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Love to hear your thoughts, predictions, bets, so on and so forth, especially about this one. It is a wild one, of course. Be sure to check out the socials here, like, comment, share, follow, all that good stuff. And of course, be sure to check out JAYONBOXING.com for schedule results, betting odds, grades, rankings, all that good stuff. And as always, until next time.